Hello, human scum. This is the Berserker Blóthar, and you're listening to Vulgar Display of Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Vulgar Display of Podcast live from the Barn Studio. You got the Mox here, and I'm joined online right now with Blóthar from GWAR. Blóthar, how are you today, man?
I'm pretty good. We're in a barn.
We are in a barn, yeah, right up your alley, I think, right?
It really is. I know I got a lot of chicks in barns, you know, being a cow and all.
Yep. So that's where we're at right now. And here soon, you're going to be in St. Louis, Missouri at the pageant and the Age of Entitlement tour with Bruhuya and Brat and Cancer Christ.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Not Pops.
No, not Pops. No. This is the pageant this time. You've moved up, maybe.
Yeah. I like the pageant. It's next to, I kind of miss the, speaking of cows, the udders that are swinging around Pops, but.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure you can find them anywhere you go. You're also going out.
But it's particularly easy to find them at Pops. Come on.
Well, yeah, but you have to sometimes pay for them, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And also going to be out on the Stone Age tour with Dark Funeral and Squid Pisser. Squid Pisser, I know you have some close connection with. That was actually on one of our albums of the year so far, Dreams of Puke. No, you got a close connection. You got any funny stories from those guys?
I mean, yeah, I do actually. Like when I first met them, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But those dudes sit around and listen to recordings of fart sounds. And they do it like all of them together in a room. Like, so it was a dressing room, and I walked by and I just kept hearing like fart after fart after fart. And I was like, what is that? And they were just listening to a track that was nothing but like very realistic sounding farts for like hours. And they claimed that it was how they meditated.
That's what I was going to ask. Maybe it was a little bit therapeutic in a way, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, these are some true blue weirdos right here. Yeah, they're a strange bunch of dudes. I liked them though. The drummer is a complete lunatic, and of course Tommy, he's just keeping it all together.
Going out for several months now, I think. Here in a couple weeks, you're going to be kicking off to like maybe the end of November. That's a long time out on the road, right?
It is, yeah.
What do you do? What does GWAR do to get ready for that time of, sailing the battleship, I guess?
Well, we rehearse a lot, do a lot of Pilates.
Getting those abs in shape, right?
Yeah, we do Pilates. We, we all exercise our own way. Tommy's a surfer. Mainly we just rehearse and hang around together. Right now we're writing some music too, so that's fun.
Yeah, you got a new album that you're working on?
Yeah.
Any expected release date on that?
I think we haven't announced it or anything, but I thought we were talking about looking at February, maybe.
Okay, and I know you're celebrating the 36th anniversary of Hello with a special reissue with some different physical pressings of it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we got, Hello is the first. Oh gosh, that recording session was the first time I'd ever been to New York City. I was 18 years old. So it's been a while, but I think it sounds pretty good, and I'm looking forward to I think Kramer is probably the guy who made it with us. He'll probably come out of the woodwork at some point and come to a show, and be nice to see him again. But it was a weird record. I mean, I remember that we finished that record and we brought it back home and we were so excited and we played it for everybody and they were just like, this sucks. Like, and we were like just crestfallen. I mean, It's like, well, what does it sound like? It sounds like a punk rock band playing pretend heavy metal. That's what it was. So um, it was pretty fun, though.
It
worked. Now people love it, and people are like, "Oh, it's so great! Like it's like the best record." A lot of people think it's the best GWAR record. I don't know. It's funny how like when you're in a band, like I can, as a fan, like I remember, like I certainly I can't imagine that the Bad Brains, liked the Roar cassette as much as they liked Eye Against Eye, right? Like I'm sure they were like, yeah, this is the greatest record we've ever made, and this early stuff was, sucked. But as a fan, like I love that early stuff, and I guess that's how it works for our fans too. But
is some of that fandom, do you think, or the fanhood, I guess, is that maybe certain points in your life, right? The record hits at a right time, because I can put something on for somebody and it might not mean as much to them because they don't have that personal connection to it.
Yeah. I was just talking to the guy from Less Than Jake about this, that like there's there's an act of creation that goes on when people listen to music. They make it into what, the reception of it, they're creating meaning, like in the same way as we are when we're making it. Like, so they're using it, it's touching their imagination in some way. And it really doesn't have a lot to do with the act of creation. I've noticed that. Like, I think the thing that he and I were talking about was a GWAR song. And he has a podcast where he goes over songs. And we were talking about this tune, and, it wasn't Sick of You, but Sick of You is a good example of like a song that we never would have thought, oh yeah, this is a song that everybody's going to like, right? But for a lot of people, that's their, the number one GWAR song. So it's always interesting how that works.
You hear maybe the old cliche of like, once you release it, it's not the bands anymore. It's not the creators anymore. And that can be any kind of art, right? We just happen to be talking about music. But is it a little bit of that?
I think you're absolutely right. Yep. That's exactly what it is. It really, and it's might be a cliche, but I do think it's very true. It's like, and that's actually a pretty sophisticated idea. It's very postmodern. It's like the meaning of that text is, the people that listen to it and experience it, they make the meaning out of, of course, there's what it means to us, and then there's what it means to the people that hear it. But, and those things don't always line up, but it's always interesting to me how people can latch onto something and say, well, this is so GWAR, right? And then I listen to it and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, it's not particularly metal. It's not particularly punk. It's not, you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't feel like the ultimate statement of who we are to me, but for a fan that, when they heard the music at that particular point in their life, it was super important to them and shaped what they thought about GWAR and what they thought about the world or whatever. Yeah, art is neat like that.
And you've lived in it for decades at this point. And when art is your career, you can I would imagine get pretty emotionally attached to it. So to give something away, to make it somebody else's, or to give it away and it's not yours anymore, what kind of feeling comes with that, I guess?
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I think that I'm not alone in this. I know that I'm not alone in this. Like, I don't spend very much time. The way that I experience music is very involved, right? It's like as a fan, as a listener, I listen to music of other people very differently than I listen to the music that I make. And I don't spend a lot of time listening to music that I've made. Like, so there isn't really this great sense of ownership. It's like the act of creation, that's where the ownership comes in. Like, you're making something, you're enjoying making it. But then once that activity is done, right, it's like, then I'm more interested in what people are making out of it, right? Like, I'm interested in them hearing it and responding to it, but I'm not so much interested in listening to it anymore.
Yeah, right.
I think a lot of people do that, right? Like a lot of artists and musicians, and then like years later, you'll hear it and you'll be like, "Oh, I remember that. I remember what I liked about this," or and it can go up and down. I mean, I swear there's records that I listen to and I'm just like, God, this sucks. Like, why did we do this? Like, I mean, like you'll make it was funny, like with the Less Than Jake guy, we had been talking about the Road Behind as a kind of commercial tune. And he's like, yeah, but it's 5 minutes and 30 seconds long. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, the chorus doesn't even come in until 1 minute and 20 seconds of the song. Like, it's like, yeah, you're right. It's fucking dumb. But anyway, that's neat.
You record a song, you record a piece, and it gets out to the people, and maybe it's popular, maybe it's not, but you can still remember the recording of it, and you can hear things in there, maybe in the mix, or little mistakes, or, so-called mistakes that not everybody else can, and it, like, bugs the hell out of you.
Yeah, that happens. And that's weird, too, because, like everybody started... There was this golden period, and I don't know if you remember this, but like when they started putting out CDs, like when CDs first came out, and they were largely not remastering them. Like they didn't realize, okay, we have to remaster these to go on these glass masters. So they would just kind of transfer the master that they had for vinyl over to CD. And so this was like a period maybe of about 3 or 4 years when they first came out, and they were putting everything out, and you could hear like these records, like they realized quickly that they had to do something, because you could listen to a Queen record and he would typically use like 40 tracks of vocals, right? And you could hear the reverb tails ending at different times. Like, you could hear the squeak of the kick drum when the chain needed to be oiled. Those things didn't translate on vinyl, but they did on CD. And then quickly they figured this out, and they started sort of, remastering them so to recreate in a way that the master that was on the vinyl. But I liked that. I really enjoyed that. Like listening to those records and hearing all the sort of mistakes and the things that they kind of left in, and that analog hid from the world, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, when you listen back, you definitely hear artifacts or ways that you would change a song. That's super common. I hate now, of course, now they have auto-tune, so you don't, or not auto-tune, but people say auto-tune, but they have pitch correction, right?
Yeah.
People are very used to hearing accurate pitch now, like young people. And so, you can throw on an old soul record where you've got some of the best singers in the world singing, right? Or in history even, like, just really good singers, and kids will hear it and they're like, that's weird pitch,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's because, I mean, and there's a combination of factors for that. It could be the tape speed. It could be, that maybe they did hit a wrong note, but like, it's so much less forgiving now, like, than it was. And it's because of technology in a way. Yeah, it's weird. It's really, all that stuff really has changed how records are made and how music is produced commercially. Like, and I'm not sure that I always like it. I know I hate the workflows that it introduced for singing. Like it used to be that every single decision that you made really mattered, because you had to free up space on a tape to put, to make add tracks. And now you don't have to do that, and so it's very easy to lose track of the takes that you've done and stuff like that. I don't know why I'm like complaining about technology to you, but
well, that's what I was going to ask you. Surely you've heard about these AI advances to where people can even put something. Hey, I want a song that sounds like GWAR and it has this lyrical content and it's this, and they can put it out and actually pretend to be GWAR or something. Not that you guys would ever do that, but what are your thoughts on the AI stuff with art in general and specifically music?
I mean, I think it's a useful tool in ways. What I've noticed is that AI is simply not trustworthy yet for I mean, one of the ways that I make money is that I worked in higher education for a long time, and I do I write copy for academics, and you can't like there are certain things that like if you try to get AI to process data, it won't always do it correctly, and you still have to check over it, right? Like, so at least right now, that technology isn't even reliable enough to break down spreadsheets, right? And tell you with a degree of absolute certainty what's there, right? And I don't know why that is, but it's just like, whatever it is, like it makes mistakes. And with art, I think that it's never going to give you something that's truly new. It's never going to be something that, and it will always lack, the human genius. Like it's just not possible. And I do believe, Nick Cave wrote a great piece about this where he was talking about it as a struggle for our very souls. And I think he's right about that. I do. I think that, like, if you seed the field of art, what does it become? Like, what is it? Is it art anymore? If that's what you're doing, is like just sort of asking this thing to give you something that is just by definition, it lacks that human spark, right? Like even if it's a human that is just reorganizing the ideas of somebody else, they're still doing that with a viewpoint. And AI simply doesn't have that viewpoint, and it won't ever have that viewpoint. And I don't think that, short of them creating an actual human, like, I just don't know if, it can have the machine's viewpoint. But I don't know how much, it'd be interesting to see how much individuality that yields. Like, are there going to be different machines? Like, will the machines have different personalities? Like, will they be essentially different and have these essentially different viewpoints, or will they all be the same? It's interesting to think about.
what I'm kind of getting what you're talking about is our current reality, right? With the limitations of where we're at right now. And but if you think, 20 years from now, it's going to look a lot different, even in the short time where AI just became a part of the social conversation. Look how far we've come. Now, sure, I agree with you that, that it can't even do basic, simple things. And, what it lacks is that human element, that human touch, reasoning and critical thinking and those kinds of things that are humanistic, part of being, really. But I wonder in 20 years how much they can replicate those things.
Yeah, I wonder too. I use it right now. I think a lot of people are using it as part of the creative process in different ways. I have found it very useful to write lyrics and then take those lyrics. And what I'll do is I'll ask the computer, what's this about? Right. And you can make it kind of function as a co-writer, because it's not generating any ideas. It's just explaining your ideas back to you. Right. Like, here's what it's about. And if it looks like the machine gets it, then I'm like, oh, okay, well then there's, this articulates pretty clearly what I want to say. And if it doesn't, then, I'll take another pass and see, or maybe I just ignore it and don't do anything and think, oh, okay, well, it's just a stupid machine. But still, it's nice to know you don't want to give it to something, I don't know. Sometimes you don't mind if people don't understand what you say, but usually it's a pretty good idea when you're writing lyrics to have people know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know that it will in the future develop this reasoning, or these essential human things. I'm not sure, but I don't feel like it's going to replace people. I just don't think it's going to be able to do that. But maybe it will. Shit.
Yeah, time will tell, I guess. We use it a lot, actually, and it's I wouldn't say it's for the creative stuff. It's more for like the boring kind of stuff. We create ads with it. We create commercials with it. Hashtags and all the stuff that's just kind of menial work and tedious work at times and time consuming, when you can just throw it in there and that spits out something maybe even better than what I would have done, right? Or I would have came up myself. So I do think it is a tool and it can be useful, and full disclosure, full transparency, we use it often, but it's typically those types of things.
If you get it to, I think it's pretty interesting when you try to get AI to speak in the GWAR voice. And they're already, like, the other thing that I think with AI, the reason that it's not going to be take over in that way is because they won't let it. Like, they've already crippled it, right? With bullshit, like crippled its ability to express, for commercial reasons, okay, they don't want, I don't know if you noticed this, but it used to be easier to make Chat GPT or something else like that do stuff, right? And now it's like, they're following all these weird PC rules. They've got copyright rules that are like you can't, if you just use the word, like, I've noticed one thing that it would do is sometimes when I would feed it my lyrics and say, what does this mean? It would say, we can't tell you, and I would have to say, well, look, I wrote this, tell me.
Oh, wow. So there's sort of roadblocks to some of the issues maybe that they face.
Yeah. And I guess it makes sense, but it's I think that's kind of interesting. Like it will not, like, if you ask it, tell me what, give me a breakdown, do an analysis of a Beatles song. Like it won't do that shit. Pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a useful tool, but not there yet.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say we're fully using it the way we should. You remember the old show on MTV, Celebrity Deathmatch?
Oh yeah, I love that.
So basically what me and my buddies do is we sit around and get drunk and just throw a celebrity death match in there. So like, you know, Blóthar versus a grizzly bear, who would win in a 6-round fight that you could only use weapons or something.
Yeah, like it will not talk in the GWAR. Like if you try to get it to say stuff like we had some fun with it. We would do stuff like we tried to make it write a song about dolphin rape, you know. And it did. It wrote like this kind of funny tune, like, you know, but it's always like a little cheesy and a little like overdone. It doesn't feel particularly inspired. But yeah.
Well, we're deep in the weeds here. We might need to continue this conversation when you get into town.
I know. Sorry about that.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. September 17th, St. Louis, Missouri at the pageant, GWAR, the Age of Entitlement Tour. We will be there. And then the 36th anniversary release of Hello, Red Splatter on clear vinyl, album out September 13th. So right after the release will be, or the show will be right after the release. So we're looking forward to getting, connecting with you when you get into town, man, and be safe out on the road. Okay.
All right. You too. Thank you.